Good morning to the Monday morning inspiration for the joy of creation and the magic of art, creativity, and play. So, today we are going to talk about beyond destruction. What if you are an unstoppable force of and for creation? So, good morning, I'm Bettina Madini, and here we are for the Monday morning inspiration. And what contribution can this episode be for you all over the world, no matter where you are, no matter what time it is now at your place? Welcome here. And so, what can we talk about today? What questions do you have? What does this bring up for you? Beyond destruction. You know, there's recently we have been having here in the Midwest a lot of floods and really strong storms like tornadoes and other high winds, like 70 miles an hour wind. And so on my property here, there were some big old oaks that fell, and they did not, luckily, we were lucky really. How does it get any better? They didn't fall on the house or the garage or anything, but the trees are gone, and we will have to take more down, and other trees got damaged by them. And so and again, we were lucky. And then I was driving just 10 miles north from here, and I saw what occurred there, and it's way more than the it's like is it a it's a destruction force of nature, right? It's like when the earth chooses, okay, there is floods and the water levels are still rising here, and we still have a lot of rains coming down. And as you know, when I came home and I saw the trees down, and one of them was one of my favorites, and just a beautiful tree. And trees have been like something in my life where they they are more like friends. So when I saw that and I came home and I saw the trees down, I was like, wow, I was really mourning this loss. And so, but then what if we don't get stuck in that? You know, I travel a lot to Costa Rica and talk about nature force. Like Costa Rica is the earth there is very alive, very active. Now there are 11 volcanoes in that small country. And when they have their rainy season, like harmless little tiny creeks that are just trickling along, all of a sudden become roaring, rushing rivers with huge boulders and trees and anything that is in the way coming down. And so I saw devastation. I saw bridges out, totally gone, entire sides of a mountain, entire roads gone. And then I have my friends in Costa Rica, and I see how they are with it. So of course there is the mourning, there is the losses, right? And sometimes also, unfortunately, people lose their lives. So families are really mourning the loss of a lot. And but then I see how they go about it. It's like neighbors are helping neighbors. They are, within short periods of time, they organize the creation. They organize rebuilding roads, rebuilding bridges, rebuilding houses, and they move on. They live with that. So that made all that, you know, with what is going on here by us, and in so many areas of the world where there is fires and wind storms. And we could also talk about other versions of like destruction. And so that just made me wonder, what if we don't get stuck in that and make it about the drama and the trauma? But what if we look instead into the creation. What can come out of all of this? What can grow out of all of this? What can we create now? Now that, as an example, now that my trees are gone, like what can we create there? What can we create with the wood? There's like so many questions we can ask. Now what is possible now? What is available now for us to choose that was not available before?
Mhm. Right.
So yeah.
I think of your canopy, how that's changed, and how there'll be greater sunlight on the other plants below.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. So when we look into the deep forest, into the forest that is left alone, and there's not unfortunately not a lot left on the planet, but when we go there, and have you ever walked around, there is trees that are down, huge trees, um, and other trees got more light, then they can grow. Or like there is constant change. Maybe all of a sudden there might be a spring bubbling up where the tree was before, and
Mm.
and it will not take long for nature to create something there. Something will grow. It's not that they get stuck in the loss of the tree, that the birds all of a sudden they don't eat anymore and they are all depressed because their tree with their nests is gone or something, right? They they are moving on, they are creating. Now what now? What can we create all the time? So let's talk about creation. And what is this all bringing up? Do you have questions about that? Do you have stories?
Oh, I guess the question, and I guess you sort of answered it very beautifully. Was I guess sometimes I think we feel like we're on the receiving end of nature's force, but and have we created part of that? Have we created some negativity of that? How we're treating nature? That's, I guess, what I'm thinking about. How, have we been just being a disservice to nature? How can we be part of creating a better place for nature to be itself?
Yeah, I love that. It's so true. Like, for how long have we basically sort of asked the earth to not change? Oh, you are nice, nature, but please don't make an earthquake. Please allow us to straighten out the rivers, and please allow us also to build in wetlands, and don't flood anymore. Like, yeah, what have we created here, and what is the earth actually saying currently? Like, what is really going on? There is a lot of change. There is a lot of change on the planet. And what if it is really a good moment to start asking questions like what is possible here? What can we create with nature? Also taking in consideration that there is a river, that there is a volcano, and maybe I don't want to build my house right on the volcano or next to it or in proximity. Or okay, so where do I go? Where do I move now? Or asking questions has been such a gift in my life, and really also totally functioning from awareness. Like, hey Earth, if you need to do anything in my area, please make sure that I'm not around when you do that. Like, and what can we create, right? This, yes, I love your questions. How can we be with nature? Like the permacultural approaches, you know, where we really look at what is going on the land. What is this land here actually? And we start looking at how the land as an entity is also what trees are there, for instance, and what are the trees that might not be good to log because they hold the energy for the land. Like when we start really looking at everything from awareness, and you know, we also, permaculturists will observe where the waters run in the moments of strong rains. Where does it build up, and where does it gather? Where are the areas that flood? And then they might be creating a fish pond there rather than building their house there. And how can we work with everything? Like an example could also be like what pathways for water can we create? Canals or flood zones in city settings, and this like what can we really create with all of that, rather than, of course, at first we have to put up sandbags and, like, you know, what can we prevent, but it might eventually be a moment where it's just flooding, and now what is required? And keep asking questions rather than, you know, how can I say this now? When I say this now, this might really sound strange if you had catastrophe, like, rather than making it wrong, right? And while, as I said, there is the mourning, there is this big, like, there can be even shocks and trauma can be there. And yet, what possibilities are there to not get stuck in it? And we are talking right now about the earth, right? And there's many, like, destruction, there's many ways how this can show up in our lives. And what if we don't make any of it wrong, but we look at possibility and we ask for possibilities to show up? And with the trees, for example, once we left a dying tree, it died from oak wilt, and we left the trunk standing bare. And we did this on purpose for the woodpeckers, so they, you know, there will be insects and all that. And so it was the woodpecker tree. And then we had to move a wisteria plant that was too close to the house, and it wanted to grow larger, and it could not get enough sun where it was. So we moved it. We basically just put it there for now by this woodpecker tree. And it's like, oh, we park you here. Let's see. And sort of then we didn't think about it anymore. And that wisteria grew around that tree. And now it's a giant. So see, like, this is just an example what earth does and what plants do. They it's a choice that they make to grow. Oh, now that this tree is gone, okay, I'm now growing. I'm growing, and the other tree might say I'm growing too. And then one of them will be stronger and bigger, and the other one stays smaller until this other one falls. But see, it's like it is always growing. It will not take long for grass to be there or other flowers to be there. There's not, unless we interfere with nature and we, like, keep taking and logging, that's not what I'm talking about. Nature will right away take over unless we create all the conditions for mudslides and from bear cutting or whatever, right? So truly, what is possible? And does this all make sense?
Oh yes, what when we can, what I kind of, from what you're saying, if we consider nature, what is possible, and I love that.
And what can I plant here now, for instance, could be a question too. Now that the space is open, and it's really interesting. We see now sky that we hadn't seen before. I had never seen sky, like wide open sky in that area of the property. Now it's like, whoa, there's, as you said before, right? The canopy is gone, and like, oh, wow, I never saw these stars before. and and that, and see, in a way, nothing is ever gone. The tree, the being of the tree is not gone. It just changes, and it the shape, the bark, the wood is not like growing there anymore. It is not connected with the roots anymore. Yet is the being still there? What is there? And what, I loved the questions that people posted on Facebook, like, what is there now, and where did it go? What is this? And there's amazing things that we can learn from nature beings. We can learn from trees. We can ask tons of questions. Now, what is there? And where did the fairies go? Where did the elementals, are they sad? It's like, what if we ask questions and see what's coming up, and we learn, and we start to have that awareness of living, which is birth and death and everything, and the ongoing creation. Everything is creation in a way. So sometimes things go and they make space for other things, right? When we leave a house and we sell a house, it's gone, and then there is something else, right? When I sell a painting, it is gone, and now what? What can I create now, right?
Yes. I feel like you're talking about expansion too.
Oh.
Like stars, now you've got an expansion of something else.
Yeah.
The trees, you have an expansion.
Yeah. What is there now that wasn't there before? What can grow there now that couldn't grow there before? And maybe it is in the ground already.
Yeah, it's just about to reveal itself, maybe.
Yeah. Truly. And it is even we even ask questions here now about who do we hire to take care of the trees now, right? So there was one guy was coming in, and he was like, I just cut it all, just like cut it all. Yeah, they do that, that's oaks. It's like, cut it all. Just take it all out. And yeah, I come in, and I could really see how, and it's not a wrongness, it's just like so interesting when we observe this, and we also function from question, who would be the greatest contribution to the trees, to the land, and land, who would you like to come here and take care of? So this one guy was just like I could see how it was like a clear logger. Who else, right? And so there was another guy, another gentleman who came in, and he is a real tree guy. He's not like the logger guy. And I don't make any of this wrong. It's just really functioning from what is the greatest contribution, right? So he was a tree guy looking at the tree, and okay, so what can this tree survive? Yes or no? What are the chances? What can we do here? And what limbs need to be cut? There needs to be something done so that bugs don't get in and destroy all the rest. And so if we leave just the trunk, blah, blah, blah. So can the tree regrow? So things like that. And I love these conversations, because I learned so much more about trees. And yes, can they regrow? Have you seen trees that were logged, the trunk was cut, and then they regrew out of that, even out of that trunk, or a side shot coming up from the roots, right? So, and what can this be? What can we create? I saw amazing trees where somebody had carved I want to say like a goddess face, or like a depiction of a diva out of crystal, beautiful, like really huge piece. And they had somehow, with a lot of artistry, they used a hole that was in the tree, and they inserted that to be in that tree. Like the tree had a face, and it was crystal, it was beautiful. And so that is creation. What can we create, rather than getting hung up in the devastation or the destruction? And again, I don't make anything wrong. When we lose homes or we lose everything, it is like, wow, it is big. And so there's like a lot of shifts and changes, energetically and physically and all that. But I'm looking at like, what tools can we use to move beyond that and not get stuck in the destruction, right?
Right.
Like in Luxembourg, I was living in a house, and that house was flooded twice within 2 years. Well, I moved out. I left that area. It was lowlands, and there were hills everywhere around. And so, of course, any stronger rains would just fill this up, and they should have never built there, because it's basically fields, and the groundwater is right there, high levels of groundwater and saturation, because of the way the land is surrounded by the hills and creeks and all that. So might have not been the greatest location to develop that into building, right? So I moved, I changed, and then I didn't have floods anymore in my basement. What is possible here? What can we create in a community? What can we build? Or like, what is possible really? And that is just this amazing question that we use. It's an access consciousness question. What else is possible here that I've never considered? And so with this question, and you don't have to come up with an answer, but just asking that is where you invite possibilities into your life that you could not see before. They might have been there, but you never looked for them because you never asked for them. You concluded it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. Oh my God, it's bad. Once I was in a grocery store in the winter, and there was this one woman at the cashier. She was like standing in line in front of me, and she was just like nagging about the weather and complaining how bad it is here, and the winters, they are horrible and horrible and horrible. And she said, when I'm retired, I'm going to move to Florida. And I just thought, well, why don't you move now? What are you doing here? You are in an area where there are strong winters. Like, instead of complain, like, do you see what I'm talking? Like, the idea is to stop complaining, because some people, have you noticed, get hung up in complaining. And that's not creation. Weather is weather. Climate is climate. It's like, okay, where would I love to live? And people who conclude that is Florida better? Like when you look at the climate and the weather in Florida, well, you might not have the wind chills, but you might have strong hurricanes, tornadoes, like, okay, floods. So it's really about looking, not concluding, but really asking questions. Okay, where would I like to live? It might be time for change. Is it? And what else is possible? When we look at everything from question, what can actually show up? What is possible? Where can we find inspiration and joy? And gratitude, we have talked about this before already. Gratitude is this amazing space that judgment cannot exist in. When we have gratitude with everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then ask, wow, like gratitude for, like, okay, wow, the house is okay. I'm so grateful we are okay. And now what can we create? Now what is possible? Now what?
That's a big question.
There are areas in Italy where they have a lot of earthquakes, and they have been having earthquakes like forever. It's just this area. I saw these people then rebuild. They got together and they rebuilt. They rolled up their sleeves and they created something new. So what is possible? And what does this all have to do with painting and art and magic and joy?
Yes, I can leave here with a pocket full of questions that I want to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, I'm going to leave here today, and I'm going to have fun asking all kinds of questions.
Yeah.
And I create.
Yeah. We always create all the time, but what are we creating when we come from conclusion or judgment? And so what else can we create when we are in allowance? And now what is possible? Now what? Now where do I go? Where do I want to live? Or what can I create now? What is possible now? Rather than making it wrong. It's all about the creation and not getting hung up in that was horrible or whatever. It was what it was. And now what? Right? So this is this is what I wanted to talk about today. When we are facing things that we don't desire, that we didn't desire. Oh, well, yeah. So nature is here too. The earth is here too. And what can we create with the planet? Rather than making the planet wrong, rather than making the water wrong, but what can we build? What can we create? What can we implement? How can we? A question could be, and that might be more of a permacultural approach. How can we use the water to our advantage? All right. So if you don't have any other questions, I would say thank you so much for joining us here. Wow, it brought up interesting energy. So everything that brought up and everywhere that is sitting in the universe, it's interesting. So everywhere anybody who is going to watch this in the future, everywhere you insist upon the drama, are you willing to let that go?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah. And everywhere any of you in the future who are going to watch this are making me wrong and this Monday morning inspiration episode wrong for what you heard, and how this is all wrong, and how drama is right and trauma is right, but possibility is wrong, and you avoid looking there and you don't want to look there, and everything that brought up, are you willing to let that go? Thank you. Wow, cool. And if you want to keep the drama and the trauma, that's okay. It's for those of you who would love to look at a different possibility. So thank you so much for being here, and keep creating. And what inspiration can this episode be to you? And what questions do you have? What would you all desire me to talk about? What is it you want to talk about in the future? Let me know. And you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, also a YouTube channel, so I cannot talk anymore. So have a wonderful week, and I see you all soon somewhere. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.